Bawumia has charged the Volta River Authority and the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, to find lasting solutions to explore ways of managing excess water from the Akosombo Dam. He threw the challenge during a tour of some affected communities.
I want to challenge VRA and NADMO. Let us start thinking of long-term solutions to this spillage from the dam. Is there a way we can manage the spillage? Of course, I'm not an engineer, so I want you, the engineers, to handle it.
The Ghana Bar Association is urging President Akufo-Addo to uphold his commitment to preventing corruption within his administration, making reference to his comments charging persons seeking wealth in his government to rather move to the private sector. The association noted that recent corruption reports contradicts his intentions.
Your goal in coming to government is to enrich yourself. Then don't come. Go to the private sector. Public service is going to be exactly that, public service. This undertaking gave hope to Ghanaians of the emergence of a new dawn of politics. However, it is our view that the several corruption-related incidents involving some of the political appointees and also amongst some public officers under the current administration and the largely lethargic manner with which they are dealt with and defended and protected leaves a lot to be desired.
The Tema Development Company has refuted allegations over the sale of the Children's Park to private developer for a casino. Residents are threatening to sue city authorities over the matter.
There is evidence to show it's been leased. I can share with you. You see the document. Documents don't lie unless TDC is going to manufacture new documents. I've been talking for like 3 weeks now. If I was lying, they could have brought counter document to say that I'm lying.
The land ownership is with TMA. It's not been given to any private developer. The usage cannot be used for any casino, as is being alleged, because there is no permit to that effect. There is no change of variation or change of usage to that effect.
Well, there's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Coming up next here on Ghana Tonight, there are increasing calls on Parliament, indeed the President, to declare state of emergency in these areas that have been heavily hit, and for Parliament as well to reconvene on the emergency sitting to assist government deal with the heavy flooding of the lower Volta Basin and parts of the Volta Lake. Those calls are also rife, indeed, for the President to consider this state of emergency call that many have been making. Now, let's go to the South Dai constituency, or the district, as a matter of fact, because we understand that there's a market, an area called Gemini, where today is a market day in the area. And this Gemini area is where a lot of the market activities take place on a day like this. That market area has also been submerged. Part of it, in fact, most part of the market has been submerged by this flood waters as a result of the spillage of the dam. That's the excess water from the Akosombo Dam. Now take a look at what we saw in the South Dai area.
Video not train how we did it. Damn me like again. You get a lot of moment. I'm Momana, you not gonna have yoga. Let me Momana give you. Never made a catro. That's what I like. Then you are Gama. This is. Yeah, the café. Yeah, the café. Me block one tigama me in the tieko. Kojo me to just straight me. So to nya me nya so gama.
So what you're saying there is this Germany market, most part of this Germany market area, which has been submerged under these flood waters. Prior to this moment, this was bare land, and where people actually go to buy and in fact engage in a lot of trading on a day like this, being a market day. These are buildings, some of which have been submerged to the roofing level. That's how bad the situation is, and you cannot move into these areas without a canoe. And the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, have been moving around assessing this. That's the extent of what we're talking about. Now, the worrying aspect of all of this is that even though the spillage is ongoing, we are seeing the water levels also rising in the Akonsombo Dam. At least per the information published by the Volta River Authority on its website. Here's what we saw, and follow me closely. This is it. According to the information on the Volta River Authority's website, this is it. The power generation facts and figures, the Akonsombo Lake level, as at today, 277.32 feet. 277.32 feet. Says, and that's equivalent to 84.53 meters. That's what they published earlier today. And the maximum level for the water in this Akonsombo Dam is 276 feet. So even though they are spilling excess water, the water levels in the dam is rising because of, we've seen instances of increased rainfall, and the Ghana Meteorological Agency has indicated that they are expecting, in fact, forecast a lot more rainfall in the coming days. Yesterday, it was 272.3 feet. Today, we're talking about 277. It's gone beyond the maximum limit for the dam. And that's quite worrying, to say the least. And that's what has led to a number of people making the call for the consideration of a state of emergency. And the likes of John Dramani Mahama earlier issued this statement on his Facebook page. I'm talking about for the flag bearer of the NDC and the former president. He says that it is clear that the scope and scale of the flooding of communities along the Volta River is bigger than our crippled economy can bear. He goes on to say that I recommend to government to declare a state of emergency in the affected areas and request relief assistance from our bilateral and multilateral partners immediately. That's Joe Mahama's proposal or recommendation to government to consider a state of emergency. Let's find out if he's alone in this. And joining us on Zoom is Dr. Ishmael Norman. He is a disaster prevention specialist and also a security analyst. Thank you so much, Dr. Ishmael Norman, for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Now, the calls for government to consider a state of emergency in these affected areas is growing by the minute. Is it a call that you would support?
Yes, I will. But the president won't do it.
You're saying the president will not declare the state of emergency? Why are you so sure that the president wouldn't consider this call?
Look, going by his history, Alfred, during COVID, he didn't use the Emergency Powers Act of 1994, Act 471, I believe, and Article 31 of the 1992 Constitution. And the reason why he wouldn't declare a state of emergency, even a regional state of emergency, is because it entails a lot. You remember that he used Executive Instrument 61, that's when he started, and then at 10:30 or so, at 10:12 of 2020, to declare a health emergency, not even a state of emergency, but a health emergency, meaning that other considerations were not important, even though the COVID was a massive disruption to activity everywhere. So in this situation, with the flooding, with the spillage and the flooding, he's not going to declare a state of emergency, not even a regional state of emergency. He will come out with an executive instrument that will allow him to perform without reporting to the parliament, because the modalities for state of emergency are very technical. And you know, our president doesn't like to be controlled by the laws too much.
But I say, what could possibly go wrong, Dr. Ishmael Norman, if this urgent calls that not just you or the flag bearer of the NDC have made, but other persons have called on the president to consider this state of emergency at least in these areas? If it is not heeded too urgently, what could possibly go wrong?
Well, if you declare a state of emergency, it allows the government to allocate a lot of resources to confront and tackle the emergency. So if the president or the government, let me say the government, is dedicated to solving this problem, then the wisest thing to do will be a declaration of a regional state of emergency, because it has not become a national yet. The flooding, the spillage, and the flooding subsequent has not become so overwhelming that the country cannot handle or the region cannot handle. So it is an isolated, maybe 9 districts that have been affected, maybe 12. That is still not an overwhelming burden. But in order to declare a regional state of emergency, the president will have to go to parliament, report to parliament of what has happened, even though everybody has seen what has happened, and you have to follow the modalities as listed under Article 31. If you don't do that, it is difficult to get a lot of money and resources towards the resolution or the interventions that are needed. And you can see that they are struggling to raise money, to find money, because, Alfred, in this day and age, when the districts are flooded, if you go to give me or anybody in that situation a liter of oil, dry rice, beans, dry beans, bucket, plastic bucket, I have no place to cook. I have not even water to cook. I have no fire, no gas. How do you expect me to eat? The way we are doing the humanitarian intervention of it is poor. It's really poor. When I say that, some people think I'm just being critical, but no. As a disaster management specialist, there are ways to do it. When you evacuate people, you evacuate them to a place similar to where they lived before. You don't bunch them, even if they're going to be in a temporary place like a classroom. It's not going to be there forever, because you're going to throw so many people together in one place.
Sure.
And that is not healthy. That's not conducive. So I believe that there are a lot of ways that they could have handled this properly, but like every crisis that we had in this country, it has never been handled properly. So a lot of things could go wrong, especially when meteorology says there's going to be more rainfall. and there's going to be more spillage.
Okay, cool. That's quite worrying, and in fact, it is that that has made the situation a lot more worrying than what we're seeing now. The fact that we should be expecting more rains in the coming days. That's according to the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Dr. Ishmael Norman, thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. He is a disaster management specialist and